We are seeing a lot of like AI taking over. Like, what kind of role do you think AI will play, in particularly for you, in terms of your firm?
Yeah, I think like computers are great. Where the conflict comes to me is if there's no human input to it. I would never sit in an Uber with a self-driving car. But if that self-driving car has a driver in there where a human can intervene in case system goes down, I'm happy with that. I like to have that sort of human input and control, and that's how we work. January, February, March months, those 3 months are dark.
Oh, so what are you doing? When it's winter here, you fly out. When
Yeah,
the summer
yeah,
here, you come back.
yeah. So,
That's cheating.
yeah.
That is cheating.
It comes from hard work. It's not just all what it looks like from the outside.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Trader Talk. In this week's episode, we have another one of my good friends. And honestly, since we asked this guest to come on the podcast, I've really been looking forward to this conversation. So let's get straight into it. Welcome, Riz.
Thank you for having me, guys. Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm good, thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
You know what? I feel like we've been trying to catch up for a minute, but you are just never in this country. So as soon as we knew you was in the country, I was like, right, we need to catch up.
Yeah. Now I know it's been back and forth for a while. I know you guys, busy working platform as well.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, when the timing is right, it just works out. And it was very spontaneous today as well.
Literally, 3 days notice, and you was like, yeah, I'll be there. So how have you been? What have you been doing in all these different countries that you've been visiting?
It's not just I've been with. It's not just like I've been traveling. It's actually been a lot of for work as well. So what I've been building last about 2 years now, since the last time we met.
Yes.
2 years ago, right? Almost 2 summers ago.
Just over a year ago.
Oh, okay, last summer.
Yeah.
So just my own investment management company, and so a lot of infrastructure been going into that. So we're based on UAE, Dubai. So I'm back and forth often between there. So it may look like I'm actually, on holiday or travel, but it is a lot of work there.
Yeah.
It's mainly work there. So anyways, I've been out there for quite some time there. So the whole team is there. We've got the office out there, and and then I'm back home. London is home for me. Family is here, and so when I'm back here, it's normally in the summer, a few months when the weather is still okay as well, and.
Oh, so what are you doing? When it's winter here, you fly out. When
Yeah,
the summer here, you come back.
Yeah, so,
That's cheating.
That
is cheating.
Yeah, no, you gotta. I mean, when you're in a fortunate position where you can, work from pretty much anywhere, and then you kind of have to utilize that as well. Because for me, winter here in the UK, especially like after Christmas, the January, February, March months, those 3 months are dark.
Awful.
Hell.
Yeah, so it's good that you can just decide where you want to see the sun and just go.
Yeah, I mean, it comes from hard work. What it's like. So it's not just all what it looks like from the outside.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of work that's been going on for the last number of years. So, but I'm very grateful to be in the position I am, and I work hard, and I feel like if you put your mind towards something, it doesn't really have to be trading. It could be any kind of industry, and you really put your mind towards something, you can achieve whatever you want. Like I truly believe in the sense that if you put your mind towards something, and you really work towards it, doesn't matter what industry, you can do it.
Yeah, because I have you on socials, bro, and I noticed you everyone sees the good stuff on socials, right?
Yeah.
And you posted a story not long ago, and you used to be like a Domino's driver.
Yeah.
Is that where it all started?
Yeah, so I've pretty much done all sorts of different jobs. Like you can imagine, I've done waitering, Domino's, pizza delivery. I've done even Uber driver in London.
Wow.
Whilst I was at uni, I was actually a full-time student, but the extra hours I would have in the evening, for example, I couldn't do like a full-time, part-time job. But Uber allowed me, for example, in times when I had times compared to my exam times. So I'm still very grateful for like those kind of opportunities and those kind of jobs. They allow you to build something for yourself. So I never look down at anybody, anyone who's, working hard and doing, any sort of job and to put food on the table, or you're trying to make ends meet. I know as well, you work very hard as well, you have kids, and it's not easy. In people like from the outside perspective, think, everything is going well, but to make like a sort of money where you're comfortable as well, it is difficult. It's not that easy.
It's true. I mean, take us back to your background. Like, where do you come from? Where did this all start for you?
Yeah, long journey, I'll be honest. I think I grew up quite early because from like 16 to 17, my dad became unwell, so I had a lot of responsibility, older son, Asian household. I went to university, I finished university. That for my parents was a big thing. My dad was a business owner. He lost everything. So I had seen both sides of kind of business. You could be here today, but gone tomorrow. And that's why I live by that as well, in the sense that, what I have today is not guaranteed for tomorrow as well. So you should live every day, as it comes. You should never think of yourself too much as well. But where it all really came from is just from a very, very young age, I've always kind of wanted to do something for myself. And when you're put in a position where you're kind of forced, there's no other way out. When you have responsibility to pay bills at home at, like 17, 18, 19, what do you do? Like, a normal job is not going to cut it. So I always had like businesses on the side. So I started off with reselling sneakers whilst I was at uni as well. So like 18, 19, 20, that kind of time period, uni time. That was like my first real sense of business. And I'll be honest, for that time and at that age, it was like a good amount of money I was making. I was making like £3,000-4,000 a month.
Oh, yeah.
But for a uni student living in London, living at home, that was the first sense of what money can do for you. I never really traveled before that. My parents, they could never take us anywhere. So when I was then in that time period between 18, 19, my parents were always supportive as well. So they never held me back. So they're like, what you're doing is great, live your life as well. Obviously not to the extreme, but I would travel with my friends, for example, and just I feel like it opens up your world a lot. It opens up your mind. You learn different cultures. So just before this, we were just talking about, like I love going to Istanbul, for example, every year, and it's the culture, it's a very, very raw city. And I feel like when you live in one city, for example, if you only live in London, this is the only thing that you're exposed to. You don't really know anything else or how the world works. So for me, from an early age, I see, okay, look, you can make money elsewhere as well, not just going to the job or whatever. And then kind of, hustled through pretty much, got into trading quite early, and then, build on from there pretty much.
How did you initially get into trading? I don't think we've ever spoke about that.
So I was exposed initially first to crypto. This is back in 2016, 17, so very, very early. My brother-in-law, he started, and also whilst I was doing the sneaker reselling, we had these online communities, like chat groups, and someone popped up about Ethereum at that time. So there was a website, dark web, where they would buy like IPs and kind of different, like things that you couldn't basically get on the normal web. And they would use Bitcoin and Ethereum at that time. And once you kind of dwell into that world, you're kind of exposed to it. So Ethereum and Bitcoin are kind of found out as a digital currency that is different to, for example, your regular payment Visa. It's not trackable, for example. But at that time, I didn't really know it's used for investment as well. And then my brother-in-law, he spoke to me about Ethereum in 2017. And for me, that was like the first. So from the money I made from sneaker reselling, I put about 5K in at the time into like a few of the coins. And then within like few months, I saw that go into like well into the six figures.
Wow.
And that was kind of the journey into trading. I took some out, lost some. But for me, it was again that thing in my mind that, there's money to be made in the markets. So same thing like when I started with the sneaker reselling, that opened up the world to me to business. That, there's other ways to make money. And then when I come to the trading space, I see, okay, look, there's actually money to be made here with investments, trading. Crypto was quite early at that age, regulations wise, and also it was quite, it was very, very volatile. So now, for example, you have more regulations, it's more stable as well, and it's actually classified as a real asset class now. So it has matured a lot over the last 6-7 years. So then, for me, it was like, okay, I want to go down the traditional route. That's when I got into FX. Done also the retail courses, but where it really changed for me was during COVID. That's when I started with prop trading as well. So at that time it was FTMO. That was my first back in 2020, and honestly, like within 18 months, I kind of figured out, you know what, I have an edge in the market. And from then onwards, 2021, that's when we started the company, started building the track record. We have now a 3-year track record, and yeah, that's pretty much how things have. Of course, it goes into more detail, but just to cut it kind of short, that's kind of the journey kind of thing.
I love that. And the one thing that I really rate about you is the fact that you have that 3-year track record, because I think for majority of the people, I would say 99% of the people in the prop firm space, trading influence space, no one has a track record. So I think you were probably one of the first people that I came across who had a full verified track record. So I really, really rate that about you. What made you think, okay, right, I'm going to get the track record, I'm going to start this investment management company? Like, what kind of brought that idea to life?
So for me as well, the most important thing is always, putting things in the right place, so building the right infrastructure. And because I was exposed to the space already and I'd seen how much fake stuff there is, I was like, look, in order for me to be different, I need to make sure, I've done everything correctly. So for me, a track record was very, very important. That's why I started out quite early as well. And then it was also getting it audited and verified. So that's also another element to it. For example, that's a third-party company, and they go through all of your broker statements. They look at how each trade was filled, because again, broker statements can be faked. But when you go through a proper auditing company, they go through each single trade and see if it's actually executed in real time. So that again was important to me, and it was also important when I bring out a product that it can be verified. And from an early age, for me, it was always about, okay, look, I love the finance space, and I want to build something in the space that I can, leave like kind of a mark behind. Prop trading was for me like the first step. I think it's a good opportunity for traders, for example, to be exposed to managing some sort of capital. Previously, without, for example, what you guys are offering as well, that kind of amount, a normal regular person is not really going to get access to those kind of funds. So I feel like anybody who's serious, anybody who wants to take it in the long term, props are great to kind of use as a tool and prove to yourself that, I can actually manage funds. And even though like a lot of people, they use them in a wrong way, but if you actually, do it consistently, and, if you do like 2 to 3% a month as well, that's how I always kind of worked. Nothing too crazy payouts wise as well, but consistent 3-4%, and then scaling with capital. I come from an engineering background as well, so for me, numbers always make sense. Percentage, so I just kind of do the maths, like, okay, if you're doing like 5% on 200k account, 5% on 7 figures, and then kind of understand that as you grow and as the capital grows, the income is going to grow exactly the same way. I feel like anybody who's serious about, putting something out there, track record is without it, especially today, you're not going to go far without it.
So I want to take it just back a step, because you mentioned that you come from an Asian background, and of course, I come from a similar background as well, whereby we take the traditional route, we go to university, that. When you first thought of like getting into trading and stuff, did you have problems with your family and they were like, nah, what's that? Go work for a company, this, that. Was it difficult to break out of that? Because we have a lot of traders as well who are like young, who just turned 18, for example, who want to just trade and do nothing else, but their parents are like, no, you have to study and do that. Did you have a similar experience?
Yeah, and I think mine was a little bit more extreme, because my dad was a business owner himself. But what happened with him was he had an accident. So we had 2 restaurants in Germany, and he had an accident and then lost everything. So for him, it was like, you know what, I want my kids to go the secure route. That, okay, look, when you have, for example, a university degree, businesses can fail. 95% of businesses fail as well. I think it's always good to have a backup. So even the young guys, I'm a big advocate for that as well. Don't throw away school. Yes, you can make good money here, but not everybody can do it long term as well, and you have to prove to yourself. So maybe you'll make money for like 6 months, 12 months, but I'm a big advocate for having something as a backup. Like my own brother, for example, right? He's been wanting to join the company since 2 years, and he's been telling me, bro, I want to quit uni. But I said to him as well, you know what, until you finish your bachelor, I'm not going to take you on, purely because I understand as well, like, not everybody is made to be a trader, for example. Not everybody is meant for business as well. Some people are very, very well off going the normal route as well. And there's nothing wrong with it as well. I have a lot of friends who are in the professional world, and they've built a great amount of wealth just from, for example, working, doing smart investments, and playing a long-term game. I feel like when you're 18, 19, you want the fast money, you want, the supercar, you want the watches. In social media, you're exposed to that world. It's a good and bad thing in the same way. I find where it's good is that when you're exposed to it at an early age, because I have a few guys who are very, very early in my group as well. When you're exposed at like 16, 17, and you have that right mindset that you want to work towards something, instead of wasting those years away, you can get ahead of a lot of the world. So yeah, parents, of course, they were against it. They were, I think the first 2 years, I didn't even tell them what I was doing.
Really?
No, seriously, like,
Wow.
they kind of, I always said, I'm doing something online business, this kind of stuff. Like, they knew I done a little bit with the sneakers, that done well. And then once I finished university, I told them I want to give myself a few years to try to build something for myself. That further in life, for example, when I'm 30, 35, I don't look back when I was 22, that I didn't risk a few years of my life. Because when you're 22 living with parents, I don't have kids, I don't really have a partner at that time, so you don't have the responsibilities as much as compared to if I go further down the line, then to throw it away and then try to focus on business or trying to build something else is very, very difficult. And I have a few guys as well, for example, who are now at the age, they're approaching like 30, 35, 40 years old. But if you submit to time, you can make it work as well at the end of the day. But it becomes harder. So that's only when you're young, you have time, and time is the biggest luxury, I feel.
I agree, and I agree with what you said as well about like the importance of education. And I was actually going to ask you, like, what is your stance on the importance of education? But I was the same. So I went to uni, I got my law degree, and then I got my master's degree in law. In the back of my mind, I always knew that was a backup plan because I knew I didn't want to work for someone else. But I was also aware of the fact that trading might not work, business might not work. So I wanted to make sure I had like a solid backup plan that I can always fall back on should that fail.
100%.
So I completely agree. I think that education, it's definitely important. I think more for character, but growth rather than like actually like pursuing it and like forming a career out of it. I think once you have that backup plan, that's like an added part of your character, I think, regardless if you continue to go on with the career with it or not.
That's what I mean. I feel like, especially like living in Europe, we are very, very fortunate to be able to get education. So for example, as well, for example, in Turkey or where I come from, my background, people would, not everybody that has access to that education as well. So I feel like in the UK, we take it for granted. A lot of the people there, I remember, for example, like people who came to uni and took it as a joke. As much as, I understand, for example, like, it might not be for everybody as well, but I still feel like if you go to university, you pick up other skills as well. Not just what you're learning, but you pick up social skills, interacting with people, and also working with different people from different backgrounds, different ages. Uni is that first real thing. School is not that at that level. When it comes to university, you are exposed to people from different countries, different ages, different backgrounds, and then you're kind of forced to work with, different personalities. When it comes further down the line, if you wouldn't build a business, you're going to start to build a team. Those skills of, picking the right team, picking the right people, working with other people, is transferable into the professional world as well.
But I have an argument to make, yeah? So I went back home to my home country and I've got like family members who are currently in university. And I look at their material, their study material, and it's so much harder than what we had. Like, I feel like the Western world universities are just built for the sake of business.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I see that in the UK, for example, UK, like university is a business. Like, why is there 200 universities in the UK and like they have like X amount of courses and they're charging like 9K a year for those kind of courses. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful to, you know, any profession or anything, but I feel like uni, as long as like there's some course subjects and profession that require for you to go to university, law, engineering, doctor, for example. But if you are going to do like an arts degree, for example, you may be able to pick up like a scholarship or, you know, freelance, or pick up skills elsewhere than, for example, go to, because that's the wrong side of university, where it's seen as business, where they kind of force you into getting that loan. You sign up for like a 3-4 year course, and they're basically, that course is not getting you anywhere, basically. So
I agree.
It's a return on investment on everything, I see, pretty much.
So obviously you have your asset management company. I see a lot of things online with people questioning people's track records. Have you experienced that?
Not like from our side, pretty much, really, because we have my FX book. Everything, you know, it's live. Also, we have an audited and verified track record, GIPS verified. So that is a body that verifies all investment management companies across the world. It's similar to, for example, in the dental world or medicine world, you have like a group that verify. I'm pretty sure even in law, they have like bodies that verify companies and verify, for example, your profession, if you're a barrister or whatever. So it's the same kind of thing. So don't really, not really from on our side, but yeah, I do get it online, for example. And for example, some people cannot comprehend the fact that, you know what, those kind of returns are possible. Or so that's what those kind of people will then question it. Manual trading is not that easy, honestly. If you do like things professionally, build a team, then yeah, it is out there. Like I always question things as well until I see proof, you know. So that's how I've always worked as well. Until I see like hard proof, for me, everything is questionable.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, like I said, you're probably one of the most professional traders that I've met in the space. And the fact that you have the track record and now you're managing an investment firm, like, I think that is amazing. And like I said, probably one of the most professional people in the entire like trading influencer space, I would say.
No, I really appreciate that. No.
Yeah.
And I've always had that mentality of, you know, building things correctly, even if it takes a longer period of time. Instead of cutting shortcuts, like I could have maybe launched or went public a few years ago as well.
I was going to say, because you've only launched
we only went public
this
like
year,
2 months
didn't you?
ago. So we had private investors with the track record. So that's basically up to the point we have. It has been mainly private investors.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go public until, for example, I had a 3-year track record, for example, until, you know, it's audited, it's verified. Even after, for example, 6-12 months of, you know, we've had decent returns, I could have, you know, announced everything, but I wanted to put the regulations and licensing and the infrastructure in place first before going public. Because now, for example, now we have a product, now we can go out there in the world and bring it out. So that was kind of the approach.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think, like I say, it is one of the best things that you could have done in this space, and so very few people do it. The world is kind of changing at the moment, and we are seeing a lot of like AI taking over, like in the finance world. What kind of role do you think AI will play, in particularly for you, in terms of your firm?
Yeah, so it's a good question, because we're already heavily using AI. And my stance on AI is basically like this, or what I can explain. AI, I think like computers are great. You know, they can reduce a lot of your workload, so they're great in that sense. But where the conflict comes to me is if there's no human input to it. So, for example, how I can make it, you know, so everybody can understand. For example, I would never sit in an Uber with a self-driving car. But if that self-driving car has a driver in there, where a human can intervene in case a system goes down, instead of one of the sensors is broken, I'm happy with that. So for me, it's not 100% automation. I like to have that sort of human input and control, and that's how we work. So we have automated systems, but we have a 24/7 team where we have a human input towards our systems. Meaning, for example, this week we had a massive crash in the markets. We had our own input that, you know what, we want to hold trading, and we want to stop the systems basically. And then that is our human input and our human market analysis. So we look at market analysis in general, and according to, you know, the direction of currencies, what we're looking at, we adjust those settings accordingly. So there's two elements. So yes, we have the automated systems, but also a lot of the human input that we give data towards, and that is what makes it unique, I think. And that's why it works so well. For example, there's a lot of automated systems you can buy online, for example. They'll work 2-3 months, 4 months at max, maybe even 6 months. But then 1 month comes, some sort of news comes, and all your last 6 months of gains are gone.
Yeah.
So and I've seen that myself. So that's for me, like, AI, great, and I feel like the world is only gonna pick it up more. Like everywhere we're going today, for example, like ChatGPT is huge.
Yeah.
It has it's made business so much
easier.
Like, exactly, for like a independent or you know, somebody who's like a very small business, you can get a lot of the work done, for example, just with ChatGPT. But again, it's giving it that right information, giving it that right data for it to work.
I agree, and I'm glad you've said that, because there is like a massive thing. I think when I came into the industry, I didn't really hear of it, but now it's like this influx of bots for sale, and so many people will say like, oh, I've got this bot, it's been profitable for like the last 3 months, and then they'll start selling it for like £100, £1,000, whatever, and people will buy it and it will work, and then, like you say, like market conditions will change or something will change, and then the bot no longer works, and now it's just losing you money. So I think it's important for people to understand the element of, like, if you're buying a bot, that bot needs to be like manually, everything needs to be input manually. You can't just rely on a system that is basically built to work around one type of market condition.
100%.
So I think that is a really important element of just this whole thing of like people buying bots and selling bots.
Yeah, because the market is very, very dynamic. That's what I mentioned. For example, I've seen these bots, and I just feel like if anybody's trying to sell a bot, if it's making me money, like for example, my system will never be for sale. Why? Because, you know, it's something unique, and why would I give that away?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm happy, you know, to get as many people to use the product, but I wouldn't license it out, for example, or sell it out, or essentially. Give it to somebody to use basically, and if it's profitable, really, right? Why are you gonna sell it out? So with those kind of bots, it's 2-3 months you'll see, 4 months, but without that human input, it's not going anywhere. At least it's not going to be consistent over a long period of time. You make some money here and there, maybe. So
what about on a larger scale? So because you know, hedge funds are taking on people who are quant devs, quant analysts, and everything's gone fully systematic. It's like, do you feel like you're competing against these quants when it comes to what you're doing?
The market itself?
Yeah.
See, the whole market, like, my perception of the market is there's already, like, all of these big banks, everything is automated anyways. Like, yes, there's human input to it, but it's 95%, I'm pretty sure 95% of stuff, it's all run through machines and algorithms. There's not really, I don't really think there's competition in that sense. What it is essentially is how the market is, the amount of money they are putting into the market. It's not, I personally don't think it's possible without machines. So it's not really competition when it comes to that kind of sense. We're just a very, very small portion. And the returns we're extracting is not, you know, too crazy or something. But yeah, like how I see things, what information I've been exposed to, JP, all of these big banks, that they're using algorithms.
That's what they look for. So would later down the line, when you hopefully you grow and you become a bigger sort of capital management company, would you look to implement quants, like start hiring quants for your firm?
So we already have a whole team of quants that, so the whole systems are built in-house. We have a whole quant team, 24/7, who are overlooking the systems as well. And yeah, if anybody, you know, who wants to be serious in their trading game, IT solutions, coding. There's big money in there. Even if trading doesn't work for you, for example.
What languages do you look for then? Because I know there was C++.
Yeah, I mean, like,
C# was one of them.
there's like few different, like a lot of, there's like different systems, different languages, and it kind of really depends on who's using it as well, and the language is it's a preference as well. But C+ is probably the biggest one.
Yeah, it starts from Python. And
MQL4 as well, yeah. So Python. But yeah, I'm not a quant trader, so I just give the information and how I want things to work, and then a lot of it is outsourced work, and we just build a team to get things done.
That's how it works as a founder. Like, I'm not a trader, but we manage the whole systems and everything.
And people forget that there's a lot of work that goes behind managing teams, managing people, overlooking everything. So for me, the biggest thing is overlooking everything. So everything has to be run through by me before I can push it out for the clients. Because at the end of the day, my business, my reputation is on the line.
It's all you.
Yeah, my name is on the company. I was
going to say, it's literally your surname.
Exactly, so my name is on the company. So everything, like, for me, that's why also I have like this OCD, where things need to be done by a certain standard. So I cannot outsource everything, so everything has to run through by me before it's approved or anything.
So going back to the AI element, what element of the markets do you think it is that AI misses that human has to step in?
Oh, difficult question, honestly. I just feel like intuition cannot be taught. Experience, like, yes, you can feed data and understand data. And because I trade manually as well, I have this intuition and a kind of a feeling.
It's the discretion element as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's that element. And I think in trading it may be difficult to understand, or maybe compare it to like a different profession. If you look at a heart surgeon, for example, right? When they're operating surgeries, for example, there's that element of human feel, the way you're using the apparatus. Yes, you can bring in the best machine to overlook things, make things easier. I feel like when it comes to automation, you can make things easier, but not take total control of the human. So human input, where, for example, you cannot oversee some things. For example, this week in the market, with the Japanese interest rates, for example, rising, not many people would have been aware that there's a possible crash, stock market crash that can influence that. The machines are going based on previous data, right? So they cannot predict. For example, they can probably predict it to a certain extent, but not to an extent where we can see. Okay, for example, like if we understand some sort of war tensions that are rising, for example, we can influence some sort of input. If we're understanding that, the market is going in a certain direction. So that's how I see it.
I like that answer, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And discretion is something that I've kind of picked up on this year. I think I always used it, but I never knew what it was. So obviously we all have our edge, we all have our strategy, but then that element of discretion, which comes from like the experience, different things that are happening in the world, so you can kind of have that idea of what might happen. I think that is a very important part that needs to be applied to strategy. So obviously you can program a bot to your strategy, but that element of discretion is that experience that you have as a human.
Yeah, and I think that comes in trading a lot. When I see something, I can, because I've seen something basically, I've been trading EU for like 5 years right now.
Is that what you trade?
Yeah.
Okay.
And once you've seen something over and over again, I can feed the machine, right, this data. But if I see a slight difference, the way I'm seeing it, the way things is being presented, I can be like, this does not look right to me. So it's that discretionary element.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think there's an element of risk taking with it, using the AI?
No, not necessarily. I don't know. I'm not really. I mean, risk with AI, how we use it, for example, like we have different systems, right? About like 15 systems. And we can, if one of the systems is in drawdown, for example, we can introduce another system to kind of balance down the.
Okay.
Yeah. So when it comes to risk, we can use that element of using different strategies. So one strategy is going to run a very specific risk settings, but then having that portfolio, I think that goes back to manual trading as well. I don't feel like, like there's only one sort of, you can have one strategy, but like different risk settings, for example. So again, with manual trading as well, you can have an influence with the risk in that.
Thank you for watching the first part of this episode of Trader Talk. Make sure you come back next week where we will be continuing this conversation.